Hey everybody, it's Mr. Buddy here, bringing you guys another one of my discussion videos. So, like my other discussion videos, I'm just going to be talking over various topics and giving my thoughts on them. Even though it's just me talking about my thoughts and opinions on things, I'm still going to label this as a discussion because I'd love to hear what all of you guys out there think on the various things I will be discussing. As usual, this video is done entirely scriptless, so please pardon the ers, ums, and really just the general and awful pacing of the video. So, let's just get right down to it. So, the topic of this video, as the name implies, the topic of this discussion, as the name implies, is really all about what you guys thought about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Whether you think of them as brand new games or remakes, I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts on them are. I'm probably not going to be doing a review of the game because it's really been several months since they released, so I'd be way late on doing a review. But I just thought I'd make a discussion video giving my general thoughts on it, and so yeah, feel free in the comments to comment with maybe what you thought about the game, things you liked, things you didn't like, just stuff like that. So I know that the original Ruby and Sapphire and even Emerald are kind of some of the most divisive games in the Pokemon franchise. I know that many people, I think we like to call them Gen 1ers, right? That's the mean term we refer to them. But lots of those people sort of got out of Pokemon around the time of the 3rd gen. So I know that you know, there wasn't a lot of hype, at least where I was, about kind of Gen 3. I still bought it, and I played the originals, and I really liked them, and I mean, come to find out years later, looking on the internet, there is a lot of people who really like Gen 3. That, I mean, it didn't really surprise me, because, I mean, everyone loves Pokemon, right? But, I mean, it was a little bit baffling, because I'd almost assumed that Gen 3 was a little bit less received. So I'm not sure if that's just a vocal minority, or if there's, like, really a whole bunch of Generation 3 fans. Okay, so I'm not going to keep on talking about the original games. I'm going to talk about the remakes. So my overall thoughts on the remakes are, well, I'm very neutral on the remakes. I don't hate them, and I don't necessarily love them. I just think they're very kind of borderline okay games for me, much like X and Y were. Once again, just looking on the internet, at least on the remakes, I've seen a lot of hate going around for the games. I'm not sure if that's just, once again, another vocal minority, or if people really generally dislike the game. I'm okay with the games, but I'm just wondering if people really dislike it, or if I'm just looking at the wrong parts of the internet again. So... Alrighty, so let's talk about, I'm going to just be talking about kind of the brand new features and things they added to the remakes compared to X and Y in the original games. So first off, let's talk about really the new Megas and the new Primals, which are, I mean, that's kind of one of the big draws, at least in the Generation 6 games, at least for me, is seeing kind of the brand new Megas and stuff like that. So, yeah. Let's start with the Primals first, because those are by far the more interesting things. So, we all know Primals, which are essentially Mega Evolved legendaries, dare I say it, but not entirely like that. I think only Groudon and Kyogre can become Primal, and they each have to have the blue orb or the red orb to do it. Overall, I'm just kind of meh on Primals. I don't know, it's cool that they can make legendaries essentially Mega Evolve, but I mean, I don't know, it's neat, it's cool, it ties into the story pretty well, but I mean, I'm not sure they really needed to introduce Primals, which are, I think they're counted as a separate thing from Mega Evolution, and that you can have both a Mega in your party and a Primal. So I'm not sure why exactly they did that. I'm not sure why they couldn't have just made them Megas again, like they did with Rayquaza, who got a Mega rather than a Primal. So I mean, we all know I am not a competitive battler, but I feel like Primals probably won't be used in competitive battling. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to spout nonsense to you guys, but I'm sure that it was probably just to have a cool, overpowered Pokemon you can control. But I mean, I'm just kind of meh on it. I'm not really the biggest fan of legendaries in general, so Primals were just sort of okay to me. Now, on to the topic of the new Megas. Once again, I cannot comment on their battling ability. Hopefully one day in the future I'll actually learn how to play competitively and whatnot. Just commenting on like which Pokemon received Megas. Not, in my opinion, was not a great selection. Oh my gosh. Just off the top of my head, I don't have a list with me or anything, but thinking of like Mega Lopunny, was not a fan. I've never liked Lopunny that much. Mega Lopunny was one of the ones I didn't like. I didn't like Mega Slowbro. I think that is awful. Awful. Oh, there's another. Oh, yeah, Mega Audino. That's such a weird pick to get a Mega. I'm sorry. If there's any Audino fans out there, I mean, no offense, but that's such a weird pick to have something like that. And if I'm understanding right, it only adds the Fairy type, but it doesn't give it like any new abilities or anything. So I'm not sure why. I think what makes it worse insult to injury is that some of the fan favorites from the generation didn't get Megas. I've been meaning to make a video on this, and now that I'm covering it in this, I probably never will, but I believe in an interview, I'm forgetting who it was, it might have been Masuda, said that they planned to have a Mega Flygon in the game, but they didn't include it because they couldn't nail a design for it. Which I think that is such a bad and awful reason to not include a Mega. I know that there's many Mega designs I think look awful, like Mega Medicham, for instance. They still included it though, so I'm wondering why they didn't just include a sort of meh and sort of just kind of bad design for a Mega Flygon. So, I mean, I don't know. Overall, I didn't think these Megas were as strong as some of the ones that were included in X and Y. That being said, I do have my favorites. Mega Steelix. I am a Steelix fanboy. My bias spreads over the earth with Steelix. I did like the Megas for the starters. I thought those were actually really cool. Mega Swampert is pretty much a bro. He's super awesome. So, I mean, overall, not a lot of my favorite Megas, but it did have a couple that I did enjoy. Alrighty, let's switch gears here a little bit, and let's talk about sort of the Hoenn region with all of the new areas and stuff that they've added, along with just sort of the enhanced story, if you will. I'm not sure what to call it on that. So, when I say sort of the improved or added areas, I'm mainly talking about kind of how the game looks with actual 3D graphics, which in the beginning I thought it looked a little bit weird, but I do think it looks okay, and I think it looks a lot better than kind of how Kalos looked really washed out. I think that the colors look a lot better in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. A lot of the places look pretty cool in 3D. I mean, I'm not... Like I said before, I did enjoy the original Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, but I mean, I didn't really have that much nostalgia for it, so I mean, I know a lot of friends who were really into those games who did enjoy a lot of the things and places that they updated, so I'm not sure if you're a fan of the games, and I mean, I'm sure lots of the 3D graphically updated places look pretty cool, such as like Mount Chimney or New Mauville. Is that what I'm thinking of? Which we should probably talk about that. That's one of the most updated and expanded areas, which is New Mauville, which took sort of a boring, you know, generic city and updated it so it was pretty much like a giant mall, which held a lot of the features from past games, which, you know, they needed a city like that, so that makes sense. I thought it was pretty cool. At first, I didn't like it, how it was kind of indoor like that. I thought it was confusing to navigate, but I eventually came around to it, and I do think that is a really, really cool idea. What's another one I'm thinking of? Is it the sunken ship or the abandoned ship? Maybe they call it Sea Mauville now. I think that's what it is. But it's that, it used to be the abandoned ship in the original games, but that's a really cool place to explore. They kind of tied it in with the story now, and it's a lot of fun to go through and explore it. I think they did pretty good on that. Alrighty, so let's talk about the story stuff, which mainly, I mean, the story's pretty much the same. I know people will argue with me on that and say that, oh, they changed this and this. You're wrong, Mr. Buddy, but, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it is exactly the same to me. They did add in the Delta episode at the end, which does change it up a little bit, but, I mean, overall, it was, I don't know. Pokemon's never had, like, the strongest stories, so it didn't really grip me that much. I mean, the Delta episode was pretty cool. I mean, we got to meet Zinnia, which is my least favorite character of all time. But, I mean, it was kind of cool how they had that whole subplot with Deoxys and the meteor and all of that. Then the timeline theories and all that started, so it's pretty cool that they did all of that. It was nice. So yeah, not a whole lot. I think the Delta episode was cool, but overall the story I felt was a little bit sort of stale. Okay, so okay, sorry, I lost my notes already. Here we go. I have them again. One thing I want to address right now is the difficulty, which is so easy. I am sorry. They brought back the experience share, which is exactly the same as it was in X and Y, which is not good. The game is very easy. We know why it's easy, though. Masuda's gone on saying that he's trying to appeal to the younger, generation, which likes the easier games. But I think that this is so easy, which makes it a little bit disappointing to me. I mean, I'm thinking of instances where they really just gave you certain Pokemon and things, like, I think it's kind of towards the beginning, maybe after you get, like, the 4th badge, but, Steven literally just gives you it's either a Latios or a Latios, depending on your game, and a Mega Stone, like, right at the beginning. I know they had to give it to you, for Soaring and stuff, but that's like a legendary Pokemon right at the beginning. I could be wrong when I'm remembering this, but I don't believe you had to catch it. I think he just gave it to you, or something really easy like that, and that's just such a bummer that we don't get to actually really do anything to get these legendaries and stuff. There was a lot of legendaries at the end you gotta go and catch, and I'll be talking about those a little bit later, but overall, the difficulty of the game, at least all Gen 6 games, has been really lacking compared to previous entries in the franchise. Alrighty, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was some of the brand new features that they added into the game, or sometimes even brought back from older games into Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So first up, let's talk about secret bases. Really cool. I mean, I've always liked them. Way back in the day, I mean, I live in a very small town. It's no secret. I can pretty much see the end of my town from where I am right now, so there's not a lot going on. But, I mean, way back in the day, it was really hard to get secret bases, so I never really bothered with them. I thought it was a cool idea at the time. I was so young, I was like, woo, this looks pretty cool, but I'll never be able to use it. But now with the addition of the, geez, what do they call it? I'm blanking on the name, but kind of with the addition of the, the PSS and kind of the wireless functions, you can actually pass people and just get random secret base data, which I think is really awesome and makes it so you can actually go and battle people's teams in secret bases. So you'll never really find like an empty base really if you have your PSS on. So I think that's pretty cool. They made it a lot easier with Wi-Fi to share the bases and stuff, which I think is really awesome. One of the things that was kind of really flaunted about, at least pre-release, was that you can be your own gym leader, or be a gym leader. So they, I never really... Alright, I should probably explain it before I talk about it. So it was kind of, you could set up in your secret base, you could get different people, like different friends you'd registered, and kind of arrange them in your base. And you could sort of set up a mock gym leader room or a Pokemon gym, if you really wanted to at least. It was a cool idea, but it always felt like, you know, you never really were a gym leader. I mean, there was a really limited amount of, like, traps and stuff you could do. All the secret bases sort of looked the same, so, I mean, it was a cool idea. I just don't think it was executed as well as they could have done it. I'd love to see it expanded upon in the future. I mean, I would love to see secret bases return in every game, because they really are a lot of fun. I mean, even though the gym leader function wasn't, like, the best, I mean, it really was a lot of fun to, like, go into a friend's, you know, mock gym and go through and try and fight them. So I always thought that was pretty cool, and, I mean, it would be a shame if it didn't return in future Pokemon games and generations. I don't think it will, because Game Freak is a mysterious company who I question their decisions, but I don't think it will return. Okay. So, moving on, let's talk about contests. I've never really played them. That is the same for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, too. They've never really interested me that much. I mean, there are people I know that do enjoy contests for whatever reason, but they have just never been for me. I mean, they do play pretty similarly to, like, a actual Pokemon battle, just with, like, slightly different rules, and I mean, at that point, I just figured, why not play an actual, you know, Pokemon battle? I mean, why not, if they're gonna bring back contests, I thought that maybe they should have done something a lot more different with them. I have no idea what they could do to, like, make a contest different, but I feel like there should have been something else to them, because they really are, it just felt like they almost, I don't want to say copy and pasted, because I'm sure they put a lot of work into it, but I mean, contests felt exactly the same like they did, like, I think it's been, what, 8 years now since the original games? But they feel exactly the same as the original games, just with, like, Mega Evolution in them, which is kind of, you know, it's not that big of a deal. So, contests were not too crazy for me. I did not really care that much for them. Alright, moving on, we come to probably what is one of my absolutely favorite features, which is the DexNav, the area nav, and I forget all the names of the navs, but it's pretty much like what the bottom screen can do in these games. So there's a variety of different functions and stuff. Off the top of my head, they have like a news thing where you can see the different news. They have kind of a, oh geez, what is it? Alrighty, I'm blanking on what the other one is, but I think the main one I'm thinking of is either the DexNav or the Area Nav, where you can kind of go down on the bottom screen and you can see like what Pokemon you'll find in the route, and you can actually, I believe you can sort of dictate, it's been so long since I've played, you'll have to forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, but you can kind of dictate like what Pokemon you want to catch, and then it will increase the chances and stuff like that in like the grass. So it was really cool, and it was a great idea to like find certain Pokemon you wanted to catch in the grass. It saved a lot of time, and it was cool so you could actually see like if you've caught all of the Pokemon on a certain route if you're like a completionist. So it was really cool. It had a lot of awesome functions like that, just in a nutshell. I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of the things that it did, but it was a really great feature, and I personally think that it should become a staple of the games in the future. It really was something great. So it's probably going to be just like Secret Bases, where it's not going to come back at all, and that is kind of a bummer. I wish I knew why Game Freak decided to not include things like this. I mean, I'm saying this like it's a fact. I mean, it's possible it could come back in the future, but I really doubt it, because Game Freak likes to kind of add in these big features, then take them out. Such as like the Sea Gear and Black and White, along with changing seasons, all of that stuff. So it's a little bit disappointing that we probably won't see it again. Alright, and the last feature that I wanted to talk about is Soaring, along with all of the legendary Pokemon that they included. So, I know I'm gonna get a ton of crap for this, but I didn't really like Soaring that much. I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure how to phrase it. I mean, it was cool that you could like fly around. I mean, there was the mini Hoenn. I thought that part was cool, but aside from that, I just didn't really see a point besides having to go through that to get to all of the different legendary Pokemon. I know a lot of people out there like completely stopped using the HM for Fly and just started using Soaring. I mean, that's cool if you want, like, I guess it is more immersive, if I can use that word, but I mean, at least for me, I just kind of wanted to get, maybe not through the game quickly, but I didn't want to spend the time of having to, like, fly over Hoenn and looking for a specific place I wanted to go. I mean, I guess I just wanted really the speed and the quickness that just default Fly brought. So I can understand why people liked Soaring, you know, going through, you know, going to specific places on the map. I can understand why people would like that. It just was not for me. Regarding all the legendaries they have, I'm not exactly excited about that. I mean, I don't necessarily hate that they included all of those. I mean, more content is always welcome on my watch. I don't know. It's cool that you can get all those legendaries and that you had to do different, I think you had to do different, like, challenges and objectives to get them, but I don't know, it just never really excited me that much to have to fly and get all of these legendaries that I'd already gotten before, just again, so I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that would change if, like, I didn't have all of those legendaries from previous games, but, I mean, just for me right there, I was not too really thrilled about it. Not to say that it's bad. I mean, I understand people love legendaries, so it's not a big deal, but I mean, I don't know, it just was not too compelling for me. Alrighty, so I'm coming up on the end of the discussion now. I think I've been going for a solid like 20-ish minutes now, I think. So there are a couple of things. So I mean, as you've probably heard, I'm just kind of meh on Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire as a whole. But I want to talk about one of the things I think hurt the game's hype, at least for me and a lot of other people before launch. And that is that I think they showed literally everything they had before launch. There was no surprises at all to discover. I think that they had talked about all of their new megas in the game. They had talked about all of the primals and how to get them and all of that. And I think that they had also talked about the Delta episode and what you did in that, along with even like the Hoopa Pokemon and the Soaring stuff. So there was no surprises. On top of that, hackers and all of that, well, maybe not hackers, data miners, sorry, excuse the terminology, but data miners had mined the demo of the game, and they had pretty much posted literally all of the assets and stuff online within like a week. So we'd already seen like all of the new sprites and stuff for all of the gym leaders and everything. So, I mean, I can't refrain from looking at leaked stuff. I'm weak. I'm weak just like the rest of my kind, but so at least I had known about literally everything that was in that game beforehand, which, I mean, if you're a fan of Pokemon, it doesn't really hurt it too much, but it kind of did for me because there was no surprise left at all, especially in a remake when you know the general premise. Knowing like all of the content and how everything looks like before really just hurt the hype for me, and oh, that was kind of a bummer. So I know that that was one of the common complaints from people, me included, about the game, was that they'd shown everything off beforehand. I'm going to talk about, I know that there's probably tons of other complaints from people out there. I mean, I have some I haven't even addressed in the video yet, but one of the other big complaints I've heard is that there was no post-game, just like X and Y. No, the Battle Mason does not count as a post-game if it was already in X and Y. I don't know. You'd think that, like, with a remake, they would add in, like, the Battle Frontier, right? But, I mean, they just teased it mercilessly. They had the actual, they had the model for the Battle Frontier and said that, it would be coming soon or something like that. I'm forgetting the exact words, but to not even, like, include, like, a deep post-game, I think that that's kind of I don't know, it almost feels like this game was, I don't want to say rushed, but I mean, something must have like gotten cut off, you know, to not even include more of, to the post-game. I think the only things that you could do post-game were the Battle Mason and the Battle Resort, if that even counts as a post-game, and the legendary Hoopa rings in the Soaring mode. I think those were the only two things that you could do, which is a really, really shallow and disappointing amount of content for kind of a post-game. I mean, for example, things like Diamond and Pearl had the, I mean, I don't, we know that I'm not necessarily a fan of those games, but those had like the, geez, didn't they have, man, it's been so long, but I think they had kind of that whole continent, didn't they, that you could go to after you beat the league that counted as post-game? I'm totally blanking on what it's called, but I'm pretty sure that that was a post-game that you could go to. And they also had a battle frontier as well. I don't know, it's so weird to me to not include a battle frontier when it originated from these very games. For those who don't know, Masuda already talked about why he didn't include or why they didn't include a battle frontier, which was essentially because the pretty much younger players wouldn't enjoy it. They wouldn't enjoy the challenge of it, so they decided to not include it. I don't know. I mean, Game Freak has really bad reasoning for a lot of things, but that is probably one of the worst excuses I've heard for a while. Oh my gosh, I can't even. I mean, I don't know. So to not include like such a big thing like that, I think is really weird, especially for a remake that's supposed to be like celebrating and expanding on the original games. I mean, I'm not gonna say that the Battle Frontier was like an integral part of the of Pokemon Emerald, but it was something you could do post game, and it was a lot of fun for, you know, some people, and I definitely had my fun going through. I think it was the Battle Pike. That was a pretty fun place, I kid you not. So anyways, that kind of concludes my thoughts on Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire as a whole. They're definitely not my favorite Pokemon games. They're not my least favorite either. They're just sort of right in the middle of my Pokemon games favorites. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who like them, and I mean, I don't blame you. I can see some pretty cool things in it, but I mean, I don't know. I felt like it almost played it too safe by sticking really close to the original games. I mean, don't get me wrong. They changed a whole lot of the things in it. I mean, from adding like megas and primals, and you know, updating graphics and locations and stuff. But I don't know. I just feel like they could have added a little bit more and just made it a little bit more robust. Because it feels, I don't want to say boring, but there just isn't a lot to do in it. I mean, that's just how I felt. I'm sure that other people might have found a ton of things to do, but just for me, there wasn't a lot that kept me coming back to it. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this, but I'm generally not a big fan of game remakes. Whether they are Pokemon or otherwise, or other games. So, I mean, I might come off as a little bit hateful towards remakes, but, I mean, I don't know. I just felt the game was okay, and not much more to say than that. And that is kind of all that I have to say on that, so I'm curious to know what you guys thought about, I'm curious to know what you guys thought about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Sorry, I can't even speak. I've been going for like 30 minutes straight now, so my voice is getting a little raspy. So I'm curious to know what you guys thought about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I mean, I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking that the game was just sort of okay. I'm sure that there are some people who absolutely despise it, and I'm sure that there are people who, you know, really like it and enjoy it, and, I mean, I can see why. It's not necessarily a bad Pokemon game. I just felt, like I've said before, it didn't reach what it could have been. So anyways, feel free to comment below with really your thoughts and opinions on Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and I will catch you guys later.